What if reality hurts so much, you choose illusion instead? Because not everyone runs toward the truth. Some people run away from it, not because they're weak, but because the truth becomes too heavy to carry. And no character represents that better than Obito Uchiha. Not just a villain, not just a mastermind, but a broken boy who couldn't accept a world that took everything from him. A boy who didn't just lose someone he loved, he lost his belief in reality itself. Obito wasn't always the man behind the mask. He wasn't always cold, calculating, and detached. He was once loud, hopeful, even naive. The kind of person who believed in becoming Hokage. The kind of person who believed that if you tried hard enough, if you cared enough, things would work out. He believed in friendship, in loyalty, in love, and most importantly, he believed the world could be good, until it wasn't. Because everything changed the moment he watched Rin Nohara die. Not just die, but die in front of him. Killed by someone he trusted, in a moment he couldn't stop, a moment he wasn't strong enough to change. And in that instant, something inside Obito shattered. Not just his heart, but his entire perception of reality. Because when the world takes away the one thing that gave your life meaning, what's left? Pain. And not the kind of pain that fades over time, the kind that stays, the kind that rewrites how you see everything. Because from that moment on, Obito no longer saw a world worth saving. He saw a world that lies, a world that builds hope only to destroy it, a world where happiness is temporary, but suffering is guaranteed. And that's where his psychology begins. Obito didn't just want revenge, he didn't want power for its own sake. He wanted escape. Not physically, but emotionally. He wanted to escape a reality that betrayed him, a reality that proved his beliefs wrong. Because accepting that reality meant accepting something even more painful. That some things can't be fixed. And Obito couldn't accept that. So instead of facing the truth, he rejected it. Completely. He convinced himself that the world itself was the problem. That reality was flawed, broken, meaningless. And if reality was the problem, then the solution wasn't to change it, it was to replace it. That's the idea behind the infinite Tsukuyomi. A world where pain doesn't exist, where loss doesn't exist, where Rin is still alive, where everything that went wrong never happened. A perfect illusion, a dream where Obito could finally be happy again. But here's what makes this deeper. Obito knew it wasn't real, and he didn't care. Because to him, the feeling of happiness mattered more than the truth behind it. The illusion didn't have to be real, it just had to feel real. And that's something a lot of people don't want to admit. Sometimes people would rather live a comforting lie than face a painful truth. That's what Obito represents. Emotional denial. The refusal to accept reality, when reality becomes unbearable. And it doesn't always look like a villain wearing a mask. Sometimes it looks like people avoiding their problems, ignoring their pain, escaping into distractions, creating their own versions of illusion just to cope. Because facing reality requires strength, and not everyone has it, especially after loss. But here's the danger. The more you run from reality, the more power it has over you. Obito didn't just escape his pain, he became controlled by it. Everything he did, every decision, every action, was driven by that one moment, that one loss. His entire identity became built around avoiding that feeling ever again. And in doing so, he lost himself completely. He stopped being Obito. He became the mask. Cold, detached, empty, convincing himself that nothing mattered, that people were just tools, that emotions were weaknesses. But deep down, that wasn't true. Because if nothing mattered, he wouldn't have gone so far to create a world where it did. That's the contradiction. He claimed the world was meaningless, but his actions proved the opposite. He cared too much, and that's what made him dangerous. Because when someone who cares deeply loses everything, they don't always heal. Sometimes, they break. And when they break, They don't just destroy themselves. They try to reshape the world to match their pain. Obito didn't want others to suffer like he did. But instead of healing, he chose control. Instead of acceptance, he chose illusion. And that's where his philosophy mirrors someone like Madara Uchiha. But while Madara sought control through logic, Obito sought escape through emotion. Madara wanted to fix the world, Obito wanted to run from it. Two different paths leading to the same outcome, a world without reality. But here's the truth Obito couldn't escape. No matter how perfect the illusion, it doesn't change what happened. Rin is still gone, the past is still real, and running from it doesn't heal it. That's why his turning point matters so much. Because when he's finally confronted, not just by strength, but by understanding, something shifts. Not instantly, not easily, but slowly. He begins to remember who he was, not the mask, not the villain, but the boy who believed in something better. And that's when the illusion starts to break. Because deep down, Obito didn't want a fake world. He wanted a real one that didn't hurt. And that's something no illusion can truly give. Because pain, as painful as it is part of reality. And reality is where growth exists, where connection exists, where meaning exists. And once you remove reality, you remove all of that too. So the question becomes, is a perfect illusion really better than a painful truth? Because Obito chose illusion. He chose to escape. But in doing so, he lost everything that made him human. So now the question is yours. If you lost everything, if reality broke you completely, would you face it, or would you choose a world where it never happened?